Come on, Livingston, we gotta go on and on and on. Together we can make it. We gotta go on and on and on. Come on, Livingston.
Knocks it through. Mullen bursting into the box. Josh Mullen.
Together we can make it.
Mullen's ball across, it's turned in! It's Pittman who's got it! Livingston leads!
Can they get the ball back in? O'Brien. The lead! And Livingston have the lead! Man, you score.
If we march together.
The full-time whistle blows and David Hay celebrates. And the Livingston fans join in exultation.
Come on, Livingston.
Livingston have the lead against Rangers, and they are certainly rising to a few occasions on their return to the top flight in Scotland.
Come on, Livingston. We gotta
Hello and welcome back to TalkLivi, the podcast dedicated to everything Livingston Football Club. My name's Ewan. Today I'm joined by Andy and Callum with 2 L's as Bruni misses out due to commentary duty again. It's really starting.
I think this is going to happen every away game, isn't it?
Yeah.
So better get used to it.
Yeah. Coming up this week, we'll take a look back at the Anthony Stokes situation. We'll then take a look back at the Celtic game after our narrow defeat at Celtic Park. And after that, we're excited to bring you an exclusive interview with club legend Burton O'Brien. And finally this week, we'll look ahead to our game with St Johnstone at the Tony Macaroni Arena. So stay tuned for all that coming up on TalkLivi.
It was always going to be a long afternoon for the Lions on Saturday as we faced a daunting trip to Glasgow to face Celtic at Parkhead. Before we look at that one though, the big Livy news during the week was the departure of Anthony Stokes. He lasted 3 weeks with the club before moving on, citing the pitch as a reason for doing so. Semple, what do you make of that?
It's all a bit embarrassing, I personally think. I don't blame the club for taking a chance on Stokes. I thought it was a good bit of business.
He's made us look like right dicks, but we were talking about how good a signing it will be. And,
exactly.
He's lasted 3 weeks with a kick above. So.
It is. I liked the signing. I thought it was a good bit of business. Like I said, it obviously just didn't work out. I'm no buying the pitch reason. I'm not entirely sure why the club's protecting Stokes. I mean, rumours have it he was out and missed training.
For me, I think the reason why the club are protecting it is because there'll be employment issues with it as well. So if we go out and say Stokes was on a bender, you know, it's hampering his chances of getting a club. I think they've tried to find a middle ground almost with the statement. But I said it during the week. I think reading between the lines, I think there's a lot of it looks like Stokes wasn't quite at it. He didn't train at the intensity that we train at, and I think that if that's the case, he's not going to fit in with us.
Going by some of the leaked tweets on Twitter, I would say that he was lazy, if you're looking into it from John Ward's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, he did like a few tweets in terms of fans saying he's probably been lazy. Doesn't surprise me overly. I mean, we did get a player in there with a reputation of being lazy and being that type of player. It is a tough one. I can see why we've protected him in a way. I mean, the other option is agent sort of way of looking at it.
He's got the same agent as Dykes, does he not?
Yeah, we're potentially hoping to do some business with the same agent. So why criticise a player you're then putting an agent off? But then on the sort of counteracting that, we've obviously made ourselves look a bit poor, a bit sort of amateurish in terms of blaming our pitch. I mean, it just fuels the flames, so to speak, in Scottish football. You know, it just gives other fans the opportunity to say, well, you're now saying that it's not a great pitch for some players.
Watch Anthony Stokes end up at Hamilton or Kilmarnock.
It's a guarantee.
It's an absolute guarantee.
I don't blame the club for like I say, I don't blame the club for taking the chance on Stokes, but it leaves us short.
Gary touched on it in the week. You know, we could have carried on persisting with Stokes for 4 or 5 months and then gone, nah, we'll part ways, and he's earning a wage out of it. I think I agree with Gary to an extent. It's better just doing it now, and you know, if it doesn't suit both parties, just get it done and dusted and out of the way.
We've got wages now to go and try and hopefully send someone to come in.
Even more wages than what we normally did. Obviously the big news was Stokes, but we've let Crawford go out on loan to Motherwell. Kuda Racers went to Partick Thistle. What do we make of those bits of business?
I think we all talked about Sal going out on loan to kind of bridge that gap, because League 2 to Premiership level, it's a massive jump. So I think that one was always on the cards, to go to a kind of top end League 1 or a Championship club. So the thing is, he'll be playing full time still, which is good at Partick Thistle, and they should be challenging for the league, you would think.
Crawford surprised me.
Crawford, I'm frustrated with that one, to be honest. I think I really rate Robbie Crawford. I think he's an excellent player. I think when he came in last year, if it wasn't for his injury, I think he would probably still be in the team, and you might have seen Sybil leave the club. I think it just shows you how Sybil took his chance when he got into the side, because I would have said Crawford was probably out with, like I said, Dykes and maybe Lawless. I would have arguably said he was our best performing player at that point before his injury. And I think, at times this season we kind of miss a bit of his bite in the middle of the park, that tenacity that he shows, doggedness in the middle of the park and putting a shift in and the work rate he puts in. But I think Motherwell have got a very good player on loan for the next 4 months, but it's a strange one because folk are saying Motherwell are a rival, which if you look at the league table just now, yes, that's correct, but it's the opportunity for him to go and play games at this level still.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you've said there, Ewan. To be honest, I think Kuda Racer, it's a great move for him. Partick Thistle, full-time club in League 1, he should be doing well there. I think he'll get games if he scores
hopefully
a few goals. Yep, he'll come back to us fully confident. The Crawford one, again, I'm with you. I find it a bit bizarre, to be honest. You say Motherwell are a direct rival just now. They have been for 3 seasons now. I think they've only finished 2 places above us in the last 2 seasons. They're now level with us this season at the moment, so they are a direct rival. Strange signing. I mean, the claims are that he's going to go there and be backup, so the reasoning in terms of him going out to get first team football doesn't stand up for me as well. And I agree as well that things haven't really been working out so far this season. Players maybe underperforming slightly in the middle of the park for us. I feel Crawford might have added that bit of bite into our midfield. But listen, good luck to him. If it frees up some wages like we all think it will, and we bring in a striker or another player that will add to our squad, then so be it.
So anyway, on to the Celtic game. Pleasantly surprising performance from the Lions, but ultimately another defeat. Thoughts on the game, lads?
I was gobsmacked that we went forward as much as we did, especially first half. Second half, other than the Serrano goal, absolute screamer from Serrano,
Peach.
And then the Pignatiello chance right at the end. We didn't really offer an awful lot second half in terms of an attacking sense, but I was pleasantly surprised. We offered a good threat on the counter attack. I think part of that was down to Tiffany, running in behind. I think Pittman was running in behind as well. The chance he created for Holt early on was Pittman getting in behind, cutting the ball back. The penalty comes from Tiffany running in behind, down the channels, wins the penalty. Holt's tucked it away brilliantly. But I think we offered a lot first half, and I'm pleasantly surprised because, again, talking about it during the week last week on the podcast, I was looking at us playing almost 7 across the back. So interesting that we went back to our 5 at the back as well.
Not overly surprising.
Not overly surprising, but considering how contentious it was at the start of the season.
We kind of discussed that possibility last week though, didn't we, in terms of going back to that 3 with it, and instead of playing the wing backs, sort of just them being full backs and staying where they are and playing that 5 across the middle. I'm with you, Ewan. I think considering we all predicted pretty heavy defeats, 4-0, 5-0. I mean, I went 3-1, but that was only out in necessity for being different. We all kind of predicted heavy defeats. We've
always tried to be different.
We've scored 2 goals. We've had a great opportunity in the last sort of few seconds to come away from Celtic Park with a point. It certainly gives me hope going forward, but there's no point performing well in these games and not performing in the games that we need to go and perform well in.
It's defensive frailties again.
Yeah,
for the goals that we've
taken
conceded,
the words out of my mouth, mate.
The first goal, we don't close the ball down quick enough.
Yeah,
no one's getting out, and then
Nicky's turned his back a bit.
It's like he's twisted his body when the shot's coming in. He's made the angle bigger for McGregor hitting it on goal.
Taking a big deflection and not a lot McCrory can do about that. The second goal, I think Nicky's just switched off and he's not followed the run of Taylor.
It's good. It's a good bit of movement for Taylor, but again, he's not done much to beat him. You know, he's came short and then ran in behind. He's sort of angled his running behind Devlin,
and then it's a tap in for Christie.
But then you look at that as well. Brown's lost Christie in the centre.
Yeah,
so he's run off with Brown.
If Devlin's getting beat, Ambrose has got to get across to stop the ball coming in as well. Someone's got to be there to stop that.
It's these kind of errors that you can't sort of do in these games against Celtic, never mind in any other game. You're going to get punished in every game making mistakes like this, never mind against a team like Celtic who've got £1 million players, £20 million players playing for them.
The third goal was a frustrating one because it's a bit of what Gary's touched on many a time since we started doing the podcast, which is, you know, being professional and just kind of taking a foul when necessary. I think Bartley really should have just cleaned out. I think it was Encham on the ball.
Yeah,
at the time.
You're giving them a free kick 35 yards out for goal. You're getting yourself a chance to set up. Bartley's just pulled out.
And then you could argue, I think Robbie coming off his line. I know it's something Robbie does. He does come off his line, but I think he's almost made Ajetti's mind up. And to be fair, Ajetti's taking it really well. He's taking it early, but I think he's made Ajetti's mind up that he's going to take it early by coming off his line the way he has.
It's very, very poor. That goal linking for me is.
I thought my father was going to have. I had to check his blood pressure with the Bartley not taking him out.
It is frustrating that the third goal is frustrating, and we've been great believers in Robbie McCrory on here, great defenders of him. I'm finding it slightly difficult to defend them there, but what I would say is Bartley for me is the more annoying thing.
The chance doesn't come about.
That's your captain, that's your leader in the centre of the park that you're wanting to take. And look at 10 minutes later in the game, we've got the chance to break. Devlin's breaking in the halfway line, and Celtic commit the professional foul. And it
just stop
takes,
the game.
It
just stop the
sting out
counter.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're missing.
But we thought that was kind of the tail end of the game. We thought that would be it pettering out, but Serrano produced
what a great goal.
A bit of magic.
I mean, it was almost
Monaco class.
It was it was like, you know, we always talk about Ewan when we're at Cowden Beef and Craig Barr shot for about 40 yards out and we're screaming, don't shoot. Well, no word to lie, I was saying that when we were watching the game today on the telly. Don't shoot, next minute's in the back of the net. It was an absolute unbelievable strike and gave us a real way back into the game.
10-15 minutes to go in the game.
Do you know, after we scored that,
seemed to get a bit of confidence.
We looked like we could get another one. They started sort of sitting back, wasting a bit of time. That's great credit to us that we've went to Celtic Park and they've had the time waste for the last 10 minutes of the game. And
whole strike for me was on target. That's hit Robbo. That looks like it could have been nestling in the bottom corner.
But then the big chance is, see when you're chasing a game, it's always you'll get one chance. And sadly it fell to debutant Carlo Pignatiello. Good, he made his debut. He's been waiting on. I know every week we put up on the website. Carlo Pignatiello's still not made his debut. If he gets on this week, that'll be his debut. So some venue to make that.
It's a great run into the box.
But he's made a good run, but he's not even facing goal when he makes the header.
He's almost just ran too early, hasn't he? He's got himself ahead of the ball. But great delivery in by Alan Forrest. And if anybody else there, you're thinking, what an opportunity. I mean, it was an opportunity. He's 6 yards out and he's headed it wide, but that would have been incredible to walk away with the 3 points.
94th minute.
With the points, but obviously going into the early in the game then, there was not a lot in it. First sort of 10-15 minutes of the game, basically a tale of 2 penalties. Up one end, Celtic get theirs turned down. What did we make of that?
Never a penalty. I mean, is it Brown? Brown's blocked the ball and almost fell on it. It's not a penalty for me.
No.
It's a hard one. Probably in the rules today, it would be classed as a penalty.
No.
What bloody rules are you?
Because he's stopping the ball going back into
no chance.
No, he's not.
It would be very,
he's sat on the ball and then it's
hit
his arm.
Well, I think you're talking rubbish, to be honest. He's blocked the ball.
What's in that can of Brown?
He's blocked the ball and he's fell on the ball with his arm. It's not stopped anything. If that's given as a penalty, it's a nonsense.
If that was given against us, you'd be going absolutely berserk.
It's not stopped the ball going in the net. It's not stopped the ball going to a Celtic player because our defenders got the ball and cleared it. And then obviously we go up the other end. Tiffany with a great run down the side, puts the ball in, and Ayer blocks it with his arm, and that's given as a penalty. Is it a penalty?
Well,
100%.
We got the privilege of getting to watch the game on the stream, thanks to Scott and the Homeboys podcast for sorting us out with that, by the way. His arm's in an unnatural position for me, and the ball's going across goal.
Do you know when you're even watching the Celtic coverage, and when it goes to half time,
Michael Stewart as well is
telling
going
you
to...
it's a penalty.
Yeah.
That for me is just summing everything up.
Yeah. Clear penalty, well taken by Holt as well, under a bit of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, the fans were making a lot of noise, to be fair. They were pumping music into the ground, to be fair. But yeah, he's tucked it away really well. As I say, it's a pleasant surprise that we've gone there. I think maybe the management have almost looked at this game and went, it's a bit of a free hit. You know, Celtic at Celtic Park, nobody expects you to get anything. We can maybe go and play with a little bit more freedom and try and have a go at times. And we caused them problems. Who stuck out in terms of performances for us today?
I thought Ambrose was outstanding at the back.
Yeah, I thought Effie was excellent.
Especially
every time he got on the ball, he just looked so calm.
Do you know at the start of the second half as well, there was a couple of, for about 5-10 minutes, Ambrose was the one that was going in and winning every 50-50.
But I get why you've said Ambrose, but personally I can't give a defender a star performance when we've conceded 3 goals. I know we've played Celtic and you know they've scored an absolute great goal.
The other one that stuck out, especially first half, I thought Tiffany offered a good threat.
Yeah.
Something a bit different rather than going direct, long, hold the ball up. He offered, you know, you're looking at Celtic, you expect them to play a higher line at Celtic Park. So quite smart by Gary and Davey to go and try and exploit them in behind. They almost nicked in. It was Kieran Brown that played a good ball over the top, and he almost got something on the end of that.
With that chance.
But
even if he gets his foot on it and takes it to an angle at the keeper, you're letting the keeper make a decision.
I don't know. I think again you're being a bit harsh. I mean, if you watch it back, the ball skids off the surface. He's probably a yard just behind the ball to get any touch on the ball. I think if he makes the run earlier, he's offside. So you could argue that the ball's not been played early enough to get him on the ball. So I think you're being slightly harsh there. I agree. I think Tiffany done well. I think Holt grabbed the goal. I think he generally controlled the midfield. I thought Brown was kept fairly quiet, and you could argue that Holt kind of kept him out of the game.
Yeah.
So they two were probably standouts for me. But definitely a performance that we can sort of look back on and give us hope going into the next game, do you not think?
Oh yeah, definitely. You go to Celtic Park and offer a threat, and you know you're a chance away at the stoppage time from nicking a result. You need to take the positives from that sort of performance, and St Johnstone aren't exactly flying, so
they aren't. But this is what we've said before. It's a game that we need to go into and play with that same intensity. We need to go in and first 10-15 minutes be at the races. It's
definitely giving Gary and Davey something to think about. With obviously what Tiffany done today, offering that something just totally different from what we're used to over the last kind of 18 months in terms of a target man, and the change in shape as well. They might look at that again. It's something to look at during the week. It gives you options from playing a back 4 to a back 3. It's going to be a tough one for them to pick their team next week, I think.
We are thrilled and excited to be able to bring you our exclusive interview with true club legend and fan favourite on the podcast this week. Burton O'Brien played over 160 games for the Lions over 2 spells with the club, the only player to be part of the League Cup winning team of 2004 and the Challenge Cup winning team of 2015. Bobo joined Ewan during the week to discuss his career with the Lions, those dark administration days, the sheer relief of avoiding relegation on the final day of the 2004-05 season, plus a whole lot more. Ewan, take it away.
This week on TalkLivi, I'm delighted to welcome on 2-time cup winning hero Burton O'Brien. Burton, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. Well, good, not too bad.
How you been finding the current situation with all the restrictions and everything?
Initially it was okay, getting to spend a lot of time at home with my family and kids and stuff like that, but eventually you need to get going again. So it's been frustrating time from my business point of view, but hopefully we're starting to get there. But no, it's everybody's the same boat, so it's just a case of you need to try and get on with it and try and get back to some sort of normality as quickly as possible.
Exactly. So I'll take you back to when you first signed for the club. You joined from then Premier League club Blackburn Rovers along with David McNamee. What was it that attracted you to coming to Livy?
I think initially it was just when I first went to Blackburn, I'd been playing first team football with St Mirren as a young kid, and then I also went to Blackburn. The opportunities were few and far between, so we'd been down there for the best part of 2 years, and we hadn't really played much football at all in terms of first team. So we were both of us keen to get back playing first team. We liked that environment, and we missed it. So we were kind of actively looking to try and get first team football, whether it be a loan somewhere or whether it would be permanent. And at that time, I think Graham Souness came in, and pretty much part of his remit was to reduce playing squad, reduce playing wages, so on, so on. So with the conversation saying, listen, if you do get an opportunity to go elsewhere, then they're not going to, Blackburn wouldn't stand in our way. So, and from there, Davy Hay, who I'd worked with previously, had obviously made contact, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, and obviously you would team up with Jim Leishman and Davy Hay when you joined. You made your debut against Dundee, but you also played in our UEFA Cup victory at home to Sturm Graz early on when you signed. Although we went out in aggregate, that must have been quite a special night to be involved in.
Yeah, home and even going to the away game, even though I never played in it, just to go over there. And at that time, Sturm Graz were kind of a well-known Champions League team. They'd been in it fairly regular, so for us to go over there and play in their stadium and just the full experience of travelling with the squad and what have you was really good. And then, like you say, managed to start in the home game, which was a great game. Granted, we went out, but the actual game itself was really good. Really enjoyed it. I remember some cracking goals in that game. Barry Wilson scoring one of probably the best goals I'd seen.
Yes, it's up there with one of my favourite ever Livy goals, Barry's goals that night. It was an absolute peach, wasn't it?
I remember, I don't know if I'd maybe been off at this time later in the game, but I remember being right behind the ball, and what a strike it was, a fantastic strike. So, no, a great time when I first came up. And I think both myself and David probably played more than what we initially expected, because when we came into that dressing room, it was a team full of senior players. So for us to play as much as we did was good. Yeah,
and you grabbed your first goal for the club later that season away at Easter Road. I actually watched it the other day to remind myself you couldn't have hit the ball cleaner. But you helped the club to a ninth place finish in the top flight. How did you find your first season at the club?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. And like I say, although Stuart Lovell was the captain, there was a lot of leaders within the dressing room, so it was great environment for a young player to come in, and the amount of senior guys that were in that dressing room really helped myself, David, and even other younger boys that were coming through as well. So, no, I loved my first season. Really enjoyed it. Obviously, being back up home away from family, and you get back in your family was good as well. So, no, overall, it was a positive first season.
And the following season, Marcio Maximo came in, started the campaign replacing Jim Leithman before Davy Hay took over the reins. What was the mood like at the start of that season? Obviously, a bit of change in the dressing room in terms of the management side of things.
Yeah, it was quite a big turnover. Even a lot of kind of senior players left at that stage as well, and it was quite a big changeover. I was also disappointed to see a lot of those guys going, including the staff. But as players, I suppose you just have to go on with it. But definitely, the new manager was different to what I'd expected or what they'd experienced previously.
Aye, so he was the first ever Brazilian manager in British football. I was speaking to Jamie McAllister earlier in lockdown, and he'd actually forgot he'd been there. He was there for such a short stint of time.
I think the big thing about him was everybody had said that he was the one that had kind of cherry picked or got Ronaldo, the kind of Brazilian Ronaldo, into the Brazil squad, and everybody was like, "This guy's also very good. He's got that relationship with Ronaldo and stuff like that." And then I think it later came out that Ronaldo that never heard of him, never. So, I think it wasn't a good fit for anybody.
And that was just the start of what would be a roller coaster season for the club. Obviously, there was a very difficult period, and they went into administration shortly before the League Cup semi-final against Dundee. That must have been a very difficult period in the dressing room. What was the mood like going into that game and kind of the rest of that season in general?
I think I know it was really, really disappointing for the amount of players that now left or had to leave or take wage cuts and stuff like that. It never really affected me directly in terms of my situation or my contract and stuff like that. It really happened so quickly that we've almost just kind of got caught up in a wee bubble, and we just tried to go on with it as best as we could. I think if anything, the players that remained, it kind of galvanised us and just I remember David kind of saying, listen, everybody out there is out to get it sort of thing, we need to stick together. And I think the team spirit just grew upon it for the rest of that season. And then also we went on to have success in the Cup. So as much as it was obviously a disappointing time and really sad to see some players go, like guys that I really looked up to, like Keno was a fantastic player, fantastic guy. And to see now how emotional he was, like I say, I was still quite a young guy myself, so to see somebody who I respected so much be like that was quite an eye opener. But for the guys that did stay, I definitely think it galvanises and brought us closer together.
Yeah, you talk about Keno. Keno was such an underrated player, wasn't he?
Yeah, really good. But more than that, just willing to help young players as well. So even like training sessions or whatever, always giving good advice and stuff like that. And like I said earlier, I alluded to earlier, that there was loads of players like that across the board. And it's probably unusual now to see as many senior players at one club like that. It's very unusual. So I was lucky in that respect that we had those guys to pass on some knowledge to.
Yeah, and obviously we went on to win that game in kind of dramatic fashion. Derek Lilly scoring a late penalty. We made it to the League Cup final. Hibs were given that kind of favourites tag, despite the fact we'd already beaten them a couple of times in the league. Did that take a bit of pressure off the team going into that game?
No, just like you said, I think we'd obviously played them a couple of times and we'd won, so we were confident going into the game, really confident. And I think, like I say, the team, we knew we were a good team, we knew we were good players within the squad, we had match winners within the squad as well. So, and then obviously with Davey and Biscuits and what have you, with the coaching staff, they gave us a belief that we knew we could go on, but we kind of knew that ourselves. We were confident going into the game. Obviously we still had to turn up and produce the goods, but we knew if we turned up we would be able to give ourselves a good opportunity.
It was quite a bizarre game in the sense that first half I don't think we played particularly great, but like that first 15 minutes we just blew Hibs away in the second half, and the game was pretty much dead and buried in that 15-minute spell, wasn't it?
Yeah, like I suppose in the cup final it can be frantic at times, and it certainly was. But ultimately, cup finals or cup games, just in general, is about winning, I suppose. But within the game, we did feel quite comfortable within our position, and like I say, those first 15 minutes, second half, we just kind of killed the game off, and then from there, we had enough experience in the team to kind of manage the game.
I think it's obvious to say every Livy fan knows what happened. Went on to win the game 2-0. You got an assist in the game, and actually the commentary from that features on our intro for the podcast every week. So how did it feel to lift a major trophy at Hampden, and was there quite a bad hangover in the squad the next day?
It was obviously a brilliant feeling, magnificent feeling. I think, again, when we've been so young, you probably not expect, but you think you're going to do it time and time again in your career. You think, right, I've got one, I'm going to go and get another one. Whereas you look back, obviously you realise it was quite an extraordinary feat for the club at Livingston to lift a national trophy. So no, it was a magnificent feeling, and obviously have your family there watching it and stuff like that. It was superb in the day, and then obviously, as you say, fantastic day and night out afterwards. And like I say, I think we went back to the club at that time, and then the majority of the boys went out into Glasgow for a night out afterwards, which was really good.
Was David McNamee still cycling the bike through to Glasgow? Because he was going round the pitch on the bike, wasn't he?
Aye, I think he was just going round on the bike, that's correct, aye. But no, David definitely made the night out. He was all the night out.
And later that week, you scored an absolute stunning goal against Aberdeen in the Scottish Cup quarter-final. You scored a few pretty special goals in your first spell at the club. Is that the one that kind of sticks out for you?
I think two goals that I really liked, and believe it or not, I've never seen them again. My two boys don't believe me that I actually scored some of these goals, so I don't know whether it's Satanta, I've got footage from it, but you very rarely ever see it, and I have not seen it. I've not seen it since. So the goal against Aberdeen was just an instinctive one, and obviously the fact that it was such an important game and took us through to the semi-finals was extra special. But the goal that I probably liked most in my time at Livingston was a goal down at Kilmarnock where it was a short corner and a cut in, and it might not have been the top corner, but I remember it being the top corner at the time. I've never seen it
gradually further out as well each time you tell it.
Yeah, I think it was 2 guys or 3 guys initially, but I think it's up to about 4 or 5 now. But those were two good goals, and then obviously one of my goals against Celtic was a bit of a maze as well. And again, I've not really.
I remember that one.
But no, all good goals. But I think maybe the Aberdeen one, because obviously it was an important game. I think it was live on TV at the time as well. But those were good. But the Kilmarnock one was good as well, because I'd only recently kind of been given the captaincy at that stage. I think that might even been my first game. So that was a special goal as well.
Yeah, and after the 9th place finish and League Cup success, Davy Hay left the club and was replaced by Alan Preston for the start of the new season. What was the reaction in the dressing room to the change in manager? Obviously, Davy was so successful that season.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's never nice to see managers go. I'd got on really well with David. He'd been fantastic for my career on the pitch, always giving good advice and stuff like that. But equally, I thought Alan Preston was a fantastic coach and had helped us progress as well. So again, I don't know the ins and outs yet, or how David left, or how now Biscuits came in. But with Biscuits coming in, I knew that I still had a good relationship with him, and I knew that having spoken to him at the time, it wouldn't affect me directly, and if anything, I'd maybe have even more important role within the team.
There was quite a turnover in players that year as well. A lot of the kind of nucleus of the cup winning side left, so it was going to be a tough job for Alan Preston right from the off, wasn't it?
Yeah, tough job. I'm guessing his budget would have been cut dramatically as well on the back of that as well. So no, it was a tough job for him, and obviously there's always the high winning the League Cup. So it's hard to try and maintain that spirit and the form that we had in that season. So, but like I say, I did enjoy it. Under Alan Preston in that final squad. And even though a lot of the guys did leave, the boys that did come in, there was still a nucleus who now would keep that team spirit going and kept the dressing room in a good mood.
Now, obviously, it was a poor start that season, and Preston was replaced by Richard Gough, and Archie Knox came in as his number 2. After a kind of bright start under them, we found ourselves rooted to the bottom of the league. What would you say was the turning point that season? Because we ended up only losing 3 of our last 12 games. What was it that kind of turned our fortunes round, would you say?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I'm not sure. I mean, Hassan coming in was a big player for us. Really key player. And I think he gave everybody a lift. And he'd obviously undoubted quality. So he was a massive player for us. But again, I don't know. It was just a kind of us against them mentality. And we just kind of closed ranks within the dressing room. And from there, obviously, confidence grew within the squad. Very easy to get that momentum. It's very hard to get that momentum, but once you do get that momentum, then you kind of just kick on from it. And I think others around about us, they lost momentum, and equally they couldn't get that momentum back. So it obviously turned out to be a very dramatic last day, and even down to the last kick of the ball, it was going to the final whistle.
You took over the captaincy during that spell as well. You kind of touched on it earlier on. For still quite a young player, was that a bit of pressure on you, and was it quite a proud moment for yourself as well?
Yeah, I mean, throughout my career, I was never a ranter or raver or shouter or now standing and shouting at people and whatever. I always try and lead this by example, either by how I trained or how I behaved or was about the club and stuff. So no, it was obviously a great honour. I do enjoy it, and from there I went on to be captain at several other clubs as well. So people also seen something within me that now they felt I'd be a good captain. So, but as much as, and I've said this several times before, the feeling after the final game that season was probably a bigger or more enjoyable moment than any other in my time at Livingston, and that includes the cup final. I don't know if it was just a relief or whether we knew people might lose their jobs if we're going to get relegated. It was such a relief afterwards. And like I say, that feeling after the Dundee game was arguably better than the actual cup final, which I know probably sounds strange to most folk, but I think it was just a relief of pressure.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mind running on the pitch at full time as a young kid, and it's strange when you're celebrating staying up, isn't it? But I think it's just the pressure that builds with it. And obviously that was your final game before your performances that season in particular caught the eye of Sheffield Wednesday. But we all know it's not the last we would see of you in a Livy jersey. You returned to the club in 2012 after a year out of the game. How did that all come about, your return to the club?
Well, I knew John Hughes from my time at Falkirk, and I'd potentially I was trying to get abroad, and their season, the South African season, was going out to Cape Town, Ajax Cape Town, and it broke down. But their season runs from like March till Christmas, March till October, I think it is, at that time, like kind of the winter season. But round about November time, when I was preparing to potentially go to South Africa, that's when the South Africa deal fell through. So immediately I thought I need to get something going here in Scotland. So I tied in with John Hughes, who I knew really well and respected well for my time at Falkirk. Initially just to get in, get fit, and then obviously I got to a stage where I was fit enough, and I think they say, listen, if we could get something sorted here, we'd be able to get you playing again. And I did, and I loved it. It was a great dressing room as well, different kind of dressing room, but enjoyed my time there with also John Hughes and John Collins. I think it suited me. I think it suited because the amount of players, there were young players around about me who could maybe do a wee bit more of my running. Also, I was getting a little bit older, had been out of the game for a wee bit. So there were a lot of young players around about me. And pretty much the way John Hughes and John Collins wanted to play was all about passing and playing through the thirds and stuff like that. And they needed something to be that kind of link player, and it just kind of fitted well.
You kind of bring me well on to my next question. You got Players' Player of the Year at the end of that season, and I was going to say it's safe to say you kind of changed a bit as a player from your first spell. You were kind of that player arriving late in the box or kind of chipping in with goals, and you'd almost became this type of quarterback almost sort of role you were playing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was maybe John Hughes had initially done that at Falkirk. Also, John had implemented that playing style into Falkirk, and although I wasn't the kind of deeper one at Falkirk, I did play at times. And then when Stephen Presley came in to Falkirk, he made me that kind of sitter and guy who was now dictate play and stuff like that. So I kind of transitioned at that stage, and then from there, John Hughes obviously seen me fitting into that role at Livingston as well. So I enjoyed it because I meant I was getting loads and loads of the ball, so getting lots of touches and stuff. And like I said, a lot of good young players around about him as well, so it was great to see them develop.
A mid-table finish would follow the season after, but in typical Livy fashion, your final season wasn't dull. A points deduction left us once again kind of rooted to the bottom of the table when we had that glimmer of hope, which was the Challenge Cup final against Alloa, which we went on and battered them 4-0 in the final. How big a turning point was that in the season? Because we seemed to become a totally different animal going into those final sort of 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, again, like I alluded to earlier on, well, with that points deduction, and obviously whether it's right or wrong, it's a different kettle of fish, but I think it just galvanised the players again, saying, listen, we're up against it here. We can either feel sorry for ourselves, or we can go and win a trophy, and then we can stay up, and it'll be a successful season. And by this time, maybe I was one of the kind of leaders in the dressing room, whereas previously I wasn't. But I'd been there, I had that experience of doing that. And again, it was just reiterating to the players that, listen, if we get some sort of momentum going, all of a sudden teams in front of us are kind of looking over our shoulder. And that's exactly what happened. And like I say, the confidence grew within the team, and from there we managed to stay up. Granted, we'd done it again on the last day, but again, another great day and a lot of relief around the club.
Obviously, you're talking about you were obviously one of the senior pros in the dressing room at that time. Did you use the experience you had in your first spell with that kind of great escape? Did you draw on that going into those final games yourself?
Like I say, it wasn't one of the ones like a gladiator speech where I'm standing in front of the dressing room speaking to everybody. I quietly go about my business and speak to boys now, maybe personally, or maybe in 2s or 3s, or maybe the group of defenders, or whatever it may be. And just pretty much just reiterating them, say, listen, now we're up against it here, but if we stick together and we obviously get a couple of results, we win the cup final, then confidence will grow from it. And there was other players within the team as well, like Jason Talbot and Keegan Jacobs, Kyle Jacobs. Again, naturally, players that like to lead and take that opportunity. And likewise, they've done the same. Yeah,
you also touched on kind of when you won the League Cup, how you kind of almost expect at a young age that that's going to be a regular thing. Did you appreciate the Challenge Cup a wee bit more because of that?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I think just the obviously at this stage as well, it's my 2 young boys were at the game and kind of strips on and all the rest of it, and just kind of the build up to it. So I think they enjoyed that full side as well, and getting them on the pitch afterwards the game, getting photos and just wee things like that. And I know a lot of people maybe don't see it as a big trophy, but ultimately it's a national cup. So the fact that now we've went there, you want to go and win it. Doesn't matter whether it's a big cup or a small cup. As soon as you're in a cup final, you want to come away with a winner's medal, and Now that was the mentality going into the game. We're here to win, and again we were confident going into the game. We knew that looking at our team against those team on paper, then we felt as if we were a stronger team, stronger squad. But ultimately we had to turn up on a day, and I think, like you say, we kind of blew them away. We performed really well, and we got a couple of goals early, which obviously helped settle the players, and from there again the confidence kicks in.
That game against Queen of the South, which kept us up on the final day to perform the Great Escape, that would prove to be a final game for the club. Overall, how do you look back at both spells that you had with Livingston?
Yeah, loved it. Obviously, lots of ups and downs, lots of kind of learning experiences for me on and off the pitch, especially when I was younger and going through the administration side of it. And just really, on the second part, it was maybe not to take things for granted. Obviously, I did that period out of the game. So when I came back the second time, I had to make sure that I was really enjoying it, enjoying my football, which I did. I really did enjoy it. So overall, 2 great spells. I still go back to the club now and again, and he's to see Sheb and Andy and Keegan and 1 or 2 others as well. So I love it, and like I say, hopefully one day I'll be back. I'm now further down the line in my coaching badges, and who knows, I might be back in some capacity one day.
I'm sure every Livy fan would love to see you back at the club in some capacity. You did get a wee run out in Keegan Jacobs' testimonial, so you did get one last appearance at Almondvale. How was it getting to see a few old faces from kind of both spells at the club?
Yeah, no, I was helping Keegan a little bit with his testimonial. So I'd kind of got in contact with the majority of the legends just to see if they would take part. Brilliant turnout for the guys, and I never doubted it for a minute that they would come back. So no, it was really good. Really enjoyed seeing them. Enjoyed obviously playing with them again. And overall, it was a good day. Obviously, a good game as well in the end. A great way for Keegan to finish his testimonial here. But no, it was fantastic to see them again.
And you kind of touched on it yourself. Since retiring, you've taken steps into coaching. I think you've just recently left St Mirren, if I'm right in saying. You've got your own coaching school up and running as well. How are you enjoying the coaching side of it?
No, I love it, and it's one of the ones just kind of developing all the time, learning all the time. As I was coming to the end of my playing career, I started just doing my B licence, and since I've retired, I've now got my licence and my elite youth licence. So the next one from me, and my last one, will be the pro licence, which I'll hope to get in the next year or start in the next year or so. Whether it's with SFA or another FA, it might be too late for the SFA one. It's 2022 before the next one comes up. So. So it might be another FA, but no, I'm loving it. Like I say, I've got our own academy over at Mobile Sports Arena, and I think we've got 85 players registered on our Saturday sessions, and then we've got another 40 or so through our 1-to-1 programme. But I've also been at St Mirren for the last 3 years. It's let me learn, develop, get better, make mistakes, now learn again, and then just get a general feel of how I would like coaching, or what I can bring to the game. So I've really enjoyed it. But I think after 3 years at St Mirren, it was one of the ones. Listen, I think I need to take a step back, see what other opportunities are out there, and that's what we'll do now. The next month or 6 months, whatever it might be, and to see what other opportunities are there for me. If it feels the right fit, but certainly something that it's a pathway that I certainly want to go to.
Well, Burton, it's been a huge pleasure getting to speak to you today, and I thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me. It goes without saying, we at TalkLivi wish you the best of luck with your current venture, coaching-wise, and obviously for the future as well.
Brilliant, thanks for having me, Ian.
Finally this week, it's time to look ahead to our next game. We welcome the Perth Saints to the Tony Macaroni Arena. A huge game for us, isn't it?
Definitely. Both teams are probably going into the game not in the greatest form. St Johnstone are sitting 2 points ahead of us right now in the league, and we need to get back to doing the nitty gritty at home.
They've had some difficult games though in the first few games. They've played Hibs, Aberdeen, Rangers, so they've played a lot of the teams who are kind of.
They've played probably the same sort of teams as we have.
Bit similar to us, so
it's one of those ones that, for me, we need to get back to doing the basics properly at home. Go back into this. Do you know that Ross County game where we were at the races for the full 90. We were there, we were determined, we went out and we knew that it was going to be a 1-0 game.
Yeah, we just done the donkey work in that game, didn't we?
And that's basically what it is. This season there's going to be a lot of teams down the bottom of the league that are going to be in and around each other, and we need to get back into that. St Johnstone are trying to probably play a different way this season. We've got a new manager that's came in, they've got a couple of new players that have came in from the English lower leagues.
Well, Conway's one came in from Salford, obviously was at Dundee United when he was younger. The boy that I think's received quite a few rave reviews is wing back McNamara, who's on loan from Millwall. He's looked a really good addition for them.
Yeah.
They seem to be playing almost like a 3-4-3.
I was going to say that, yeah, they're playing a back three now. I mean, but saying that, like you say, they've not started particularly well, but I don't think their points tally shows the performances that are put out. I mean, their stats today again, they got beat off Ross County 1-0, but they've had more shots at goal again. They had more shots against Dundee United the week before.
They seem to be playing a lot more. They seem to be playing a lot more football this year. St Johnstone, I think that's probably a transition with Davidson coming in. Maybe try to change the style a bit from Tommy Wright, which they got a lot of success from. But it'll be an interesting one. I remember them coming to our place last season and it was a thoroughly entertaining game. Obviously we beat them 1-0, but they came and tried to play. They came to go and try and get a goal, try and get a result. So I think they'll be much the same. They'll target this game as points, as would we target it as points.
We've always had very close games against St Johnstone. Every game that we've probably been back,
it's been very nip and tuck, hasn't it?
It's always been 1-0 or 2-1.
The highest scoring one was 3-1 to us, and it was a stoppage time goal to make it 3-1 as well.
And you got the 2-2 game last year as well.
The player that I always think that causes us a lot of problems for St Johnstone is the boy up front, Hendry.
Yeah.
I think he always seems to cause our defence a few issues, and I think him and May have been starting as a partnership. So there is goals there is danger there, and we've spoke about it again this week in terms of our defensive frailties, and we have done over the past few weeks. So we really need to be at it in terms of doing the simple things right. You mentioned it there, Callum, especially against these two guys who know the way to go. Like you say, McNamara, he'll be bombing down the wing. He seems like one of the type of players that likes to get up and down the park. So he'll be bombing up and down there, putting the balls in for May and Hendry. So it's one we need to watch. It's something we need to guard against.
They've also just added Craig Bryson as well since he got released by Aberdeen. So
they've got a very experienced middle of the park, and then they've got the boy Ali McCann there that's basically going to just do the running for them.
Yeah, it's one of them. Bryson, I think, is a good signing. It's almost like the Jason Hope signing we've made. It brings that kind of extra experience in that centre of the park. Surprised it didn't quite work out for him up at Aberdeen, to be honest. Considering he played 38 games in the Championship season before.
I think he was just injured. He just couldn't get fit whilst he was up at Aberdeen, and it's just not worked out. But full of experience, 33 now, played, as you say, numerous games down south. I think he's been capped for Scotland as well, so he'll be a good addition for St Johnstone. He'll, as you say, add a bit of experience because they've got more younger players kind of coming through. You've still got at the back, is it Gordon, Kerr, they're still fairly young, inexperienced. Then you've got additions like the likes of McNamara, McCann, Hendry, all in there, so it's certainly a kind of different approach from St Johnstone under Davidson.
Yeah, it is a huge game. We've not shown that sort of form at home that we all thought of, and we did mention that if our home form dropped off, then it's potentially a concern for us given our away form. So it's a massive game at home. It's a 6-pointer already this early in the season.
Well, allows us to leapfrog them, doesn't it? Yeah. If we get the results. So yeah, I think it's a big game. The next, I said this a few weeks ago. The rest of this month, October, November, just having a look at our fixtures, they're big months for us. Really big months in terms of the league fixtures, and it's a bit like last season where we hit that spell kind of from November onwards. You went, we've got quite a good fixture list between now and February. Yeah. And I think that this could be our spell where we could maybe kick on a bit. Yeah. And start picking up some results and get off the kind of foot of the table.
You mentioned the fixtures, obviously. I'll just sort of read out the ones that sort of stand out in terms of the ones we really need to target. We obviously start with St Johnstone coming up. and it's Dundee United away, which I wouldn't rule out despite their away form. I kind of talked about Dundee United. I don't think they're particularly great.
Better away from home this season than we have at home.
And then we've got a couple of League Cup games in there, but then going back to League Kilmarnock at home, which will be a huge game. You can almost rule out the Rangers away game, and then Motherwell at home. You've got Ross County away, then St Mirren at home in the league the month after that. So it's huge games.
As I say, it's a fixture list where you can look at games and go, right, we can try and target points there and there. No easy games, obviously. The league is very tight. It's almost split into a top 4 and the rest already. But there's certainly games there that there's points available for us if we wish to take them. Yeah. So
you mentioned it at the end of the Celtic review there. A lot to think about for the management in terms of how we line up after a fairly positive performance at Celtic Park. So how do you see us lining up then, Callum? How do you see us going on this one?
I think we'll go back to 4 at the back. I think we'll go back to 4-2-3-1. We might see Brown drop out. He's not had a lot of minutes, so we'll see. That's what I would say. Brown would come out, you play Ambrose and Guthrie. You've got Devlin and Serrano. Probably going to play Bartley and Sibbald. They seem to be the chosen two this season. And then it's probably going to be Pittman. And then I would maybe see Robbo and Forrest coming back in. And then I would play Tiffany. I would play Tiffs up front and offer something different.
I think Tiffs is more likely to kind of run your channels and everything like that, isn't he? And when you're playing a back three, it's all about kind of trying to stretch them and create gaps. It might be worth a punt playing Tiffany to kind of do that, because I think he'll make those runs that maybe Low-Koch wouldn't. Obviously, you're going to try and play direct into Low-Koch rather than looking to get him down the side. I think Tiffany will offer you that.
Would there then be an option then to play Tiffany in a wider role in one of these wide spots and play Low-Koch up front and play Tiffany in the place of, I don't know, Robbo or Forrest?
It's a possibility, but I think the last 3 games, I think Tiffany's done a good job up front, and I think the management see him as a striker. You know, how many games has he actually played out wide for us? A lot of his games have all kind of come through the middle, haven't they?
Yeah.
So I think they kind of envisage him as a kind of second forward almost, and he's caused problems in the last few games he's came on. I thought he was very good last week against Hamilton. I think it's an option because of the way St Johnstone play with the back three. It's the possibility to kind of stretch them and kind of get them a bit disjointed, and it opens up gaps.
Yeah, so obviously looking forward to the game then. It's time for those predictions. We all got a point in our league, didn't we, and for predicting defeat against Celtic. Go us.
Honestly, wish we were wrong.
But listen, we got a positive performance for all predicting defeats. So can we all predict defeats in this one?
I think we will win 1-0.
Well, that's that over and done with then.
I think that it's going to be one of those games, a bit like the Ross County game. It's going to be one goal decided either way. So I think 1-0 Livy.
I think. I was going to say 1-0 as well. Nah, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to expect a scrappy performance and get a 1-0.
So 2 1-0s. God, I didn't want to go for a win because. Right, I'm going to go 1-1. I'm going to go Livy 1, St Johnstone 1.
See what we did? We picked the same score.
I'm going a new tactic this season. I'm going for
negativity.
It seems to get disappointed. Exactly. And obviously we'll get Bruni's prediction ahead of it. We'll put the wee graphic out and we'll get all you guys' predictions that are listening. But lots to be confident about going into the game. Good performance against Celtic. An underperforming St Johnstone team next at home, one that we need to be targeting for 3 points for sure.
That's it for this week's episode of TalkLivi. A huge thank you to Burton for joining us on this week's episode. A real honour to speak to the legend himself. To check out all of our content, go like our page on Facebook and Instagram and hit the follow button on Twitter. They can be found by searching TalkLivi.
You can also find all our episodes on all good podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube. Search for TalkLivi and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If none of those options suit you though, all you have to do is head to our website, talklivipodcast.libsyn.com, where you'll find every single episode we've done over the last few years.
So that's it. Thanks again to Burton for chatting with us, and of course to you for tuning in and listening every week. But for now, from Callum, Andy and myself, have a great week.
Love will never die. West Lothian, West Lothian is our battle cry. This is the place from which we hail. Livingston, oh Livingston, it's up to Ambervale. Livingston, 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 oh Livingston, oh Livingston, we love it when you score. Livingston, oh Livingston, the Ambervale Lions roar. Livingston, oh Livingston, we realize our vision. Livingston, oh Livingston, into the